Welcome to The Read Along,
a mini book club for your ears.
I'm your host, Scott.
I'm your other host, Anita.
And join us on a journey through a good book,
one chapter at a time.
Do you like talking about movies? Do you like talking about mediocre movies? Do you like talking about how you could have fixed mediocre movies? Well, I certainly do, and you can listen to me, Scott C. Bourgeois, along with my co-hosts Greg Beaver and Liam Creswick, as we give our notes, and I have some notes. You can follow it now on your podcatcher of choice, or support it by visiting patreon.com/IHaveSomeNotes. Been a busy week here at Shea Read Along. I had to travel for work, which meant that Anita spent a few days single momming.
We were fine.
I came back in time for our son's birthday, and that meant that almost immediately we went into party mode.
Yeah, there was some child chaos happening at our house because we had a birthday party.
Yeah, so if we're sounding a little tired,
it's because we are.
It's because it's been a busy couple days, but not so busy that we can't afford to spend a little bit of time with you.
And a little bit of time with the book.
Indeed. So we are read up on chapter 30.
Yes.
And raring to go.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess with that, we'll just immediately get into a recap of chapter 29 of our novel, in which a random giant mantis appears.
Yes.
This proves to be a problem, but
you think?
Not one that Diana can't solve with liberal applications of fire and knife shoes.
Knife shoes.
Mallory manages to sneak by the distracted mantis and picks the lock of a door that was demanding sacrifice and emerges into another corridor, this one featuring the ghost of possibly a friend, ? Which leads us into chapter 30 of The Undetectables by Courtney Smyth. It is not, in fact, the ghost of a friend.
Sadly, no. I was hoping it was actually Theodore. It wasn't.
Well, no, she would have recognized Theodore instantly because he's a cat person.
Well, yes, but you know
he's
what
a
I
Halloween
mean, right?
cat person.
Well, we talked about this last time. She was expecting Cornelia.
Yeah.
And so obviously the first figure she sees, she's going to assume is Cornelia, and it wasn't. But it also wasn't Theodore either.
No, and it was also a figure that was almost passably Cornelia from a distance.
Sort
Whereas
of?
I don't think
Sort of.
Theodore is. She would have instantly clocked the cat ears.
Fair enough.
But it is not, in fact, Cornelia. It is the Sam Hain ghost of a woman named Catherine.
Yes. New person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Named Catherine.
She is distraught that she has been left in the bowels of the mayoral offices for some time.
Yeah.
She acts more like a horror movie ghost.
Yeah. She's very lost soul kind of ghost.
As opposed to Theodore, who's just like your friend.
Yeah. Doesn't know a lot about when it is, where she is, who anybody is, what's going on around her, right? She's very lost and upset.
Yeah.
She's in this weird emotional turmoil. She keeps screaming at Mallory. Sometimes it seems at random.
She's
like Mallory has flared her temper somehow over nothing.
Not nothing. She reacts particularly strongly every time Mallory suggests, I have to go now.
Yeah, and she does a lot of screaming, don't leave me.
Yeah.
She was asking her something else, and she was like, I don't know. Like, she was, everything made her upset.
Well, yeah, because she's a ghost who's been trapped in the mayoral offices for some time.
I'm not saying it's not justifiably upset. I'm just saying she is constantly upset, whereas Theodore always seemed very confident and collected and social. Like, the only thing he was missing was his body to be a regular, normal, living person.
Here's something to keep in mind. The first time they encountered Theodore's ghost after he had died, he was distraught and a little frazzled, and wasn't like the Theodore we later see in the novel, where he's much more acclimatized to his situation. I'm going to posit that comes a little bit from, psychology.
Quite possibly, yeah.
He had the opportunity to have a semi-normal experience interacting with living people. He's also an expert on ghosts. So, he actually does, I think, have a framework with which to work from, having found himself as a ghost.
Fair enough.
Whereas this woman had neither of those things.
Probably.
Like, she's mostly trapped in the mayoral office, probably doesn't have a lot of people to interact with regularly.
Nope.
And probably didn't have that level of, that framework that Theodore could draw from when he found himself a ghost.
And I'm going to assume also neither the support services, for lack of a better term, that Theodore had, right? Like, he had something to do and someplace to live and friends and people around him, right?
He had a network.
Yeah. We don't know what this Catherine has or has not.
Well, we do kind of know.
Well, we kind of know, yeah.
And that is Theodore.
And that's about it.
Yeah, but it's also implied Theodore, when he was alive,
Knew this ghost.
That makes sense to me because, again, he's like a paranormal critter expert. Like, that's his business. Knowing ghosts would be part of his job.
Yeah.
But after he died, apparently there's a rule that you're not supposed to hobnob with other ghosts. But he still saw her again after his death at some point.
Well, yeah, because she doesn't know his name. She knows him as the man who is a cat.
Yes. And Mallory instantly clocks there's only one person who is a man who is a cat.
Yeah, that's Theodore.
And that is Theodore, which means that Theodore did interact with this person after his death.
Right.
What was he doing? Because it's technically against the rules, so that is curious.
Okay, first of all, why is that rule? That's a weird rule.
Sorry, having just quickly taken a look. It does say that Theodore wasn't allowed to speak to other ghosts, had not been allowed to without permission, and Mallory is fairly confident he would have told her if he'd had an opportunity to speak to Catherine.
Oh, probably.
So it is a little out of the ordinary that Theodore would have interacted with her and not mentioned it.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I wonder if maybe the interaction didn't happen after he was taken by the Whistler.
Quite possibly.
You know what I mean? Because her timeline's a little fuzzy.
Yeah, she doesn't know where or when she is, really.
Also, as far as I can tell, the book doesn't explain why ghosts can't interact.
No,
There's no real justification for it. It just says that they can't.
Well, it might have to do with his job because he is still employed by the Ghoul Council.
Maybe.
But it is unclear why ghosts can't interact or why specifically Theodore can't.
Yeah. It's weird, right? Seems weird? Seems weird.
She does also mention another man, and like we can infer that she's talking about the Whistler.
Yeah, the other man. Yeah. The way she says it, like with emphasis on that other man.
Yeah. The fact that Theodore had interacted with Catherine before his death, though, also begins to, like, it starts niggling at Mallory's detective brain.
Yeah. There's something in her that wants to sort this out.
Yeah.
Except the panic of the situation is overriding that.
But she is feeling like it's making a connection to Theodore's murder, his original murder.
Yes.
Several years back.
His first murder. Poor Theodore.
And she feels like this might have something to do with it, but as you say, she does not have time to dwell on it right now because she's fairly confident Cornelia is still alive and might be through the next door, though at the rate things are going, it might just be another corridor with another strange entity in it.
Yes. And it is. So she promises to come back for Catherine.
Yep.
And I trust that Mallory means that.
Oh, I for sure believe that she means that.
Like, look, I recognize that you need help, but I also have this other thing to do. I'm going to go, much to Catherine's dismay. And so this is where the offices are proving to be like a gauntlet of challenging rooms.
Yeah.
Right?
Or at least the Whistler has set up a gauntlet of challenging rooms.
Yeah. It doesn't matter who set it up. The point is they are going through basically a gauntlet.
Yeah.
So they've had to take on a giant mantis.
So yeah, like the first one's almost like a physical challenge. The second one more of an emotional challenge.
That makes sense. So make the third one like a mental challenge.
Kinda, yeah.
Because what awaits in this room, I assume, is very personal to Mallory.
Well, and probably very personal to anybody who passes through.
That's what I mean. It probably affects you personally. It is the one thing you can't face, right? It's one of those face your fears thing. It's the one thing you can't do. And so it's asking you to do it.
Yeah. And in this case, it's Mallory being confronted with her tiny...
With beetles. A million tiny little Selines.
Her coleoptericide.
Yes. Being spawned and squished over and over and over again.
Filling the room.
Yeah.
Like more and more of them. Every
ad
time.
Infinitum.
Yeah, every time one is squished, like two more pop out.
Yeah, so she's just drowning in all of these dying beetles because her guilt is going to kill her.
She is literally drowning in her guilt.
Yes, which I think makes this room very effective.
Yeah, not so effective that it stops her.
No, which I think is a crowning character trait of Mallory. It's the one good thing to have come from her entire situation is she knows how to deal with and compartmentalize, maybe, is what I'm trying to get at. She knows how to put this off. She knows how to put it aside. She knows how to get through this without actually dealing with it.
Kinda, yeah.
Right? She hasn't resolved anything, but she is able to, in her head, ignore what is happening around her.
And push through it.
Yeah, and push through it and focus on what she's actually trying to do, which is to find Cornelia.
Yeah, and makes her way into yet another room.
Yet another room.
With yet still no cages, but a person, apparently.
Okay, I'm pretty sure this one is Cornelia. She gets to the end of this room, she gets out into a whole nother room, and the chapter ends with a voice saying, "Oh, you've got to be joking," or something like that. I don't remember the exact line. And based on that, I'm going with Cornelia. I could be wrong, because no spoilers, I haven't read ahead, but it's my best guess, is that she's now finally run into Cornelia.
So, more challenges on the way to the final boss.
Yeah. Yeah. We are on 30, and what did I say we go up to? 36?
Yeah.
I think 36 is
so
the
we
end.
must be pretty close to the climactic boss encounter.
Yeah, we are running out of chapters.
Well, especially if we're expecting that there's going to be a little bit of denouement. So.
Yeah, I would hope. I don't know. If we cover a couple rooms after each chapter, that means we still have rooms to go.
Indeed. But I guess we'll have to wait and see as we move into chapter 31, which you'll want to read up on in time for next week. In the meantime, of course, as always, you can give us a little rating and a review, because that helps us out.
We appreciate those.
Yeah, you can also send us message via social media.
Oh, we have a whole list for you to choose from. We are on Facebook, Instagram, Goodreads, X, and Blue Sky. We are at the Read Along on anything that needs the at.
Yes, you can also send us an email.
Oh, please do. We'd love to get your email. We are thereadalong@gmail.com.
And with that said, as always, we love you very much, and we'll see you next time.
More creepy rooms.
Thank you for joining us on The Read Along with your hosts, Anita and Scott Bourgeois. All Read Along music is by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Cover art is by Aaron Beaver. Be sure to join us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at The Read Along, and check out our group on Goodreads.com.